What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. We'll break down what's happening with the news involving the markets, as we have some very important data coming out for tomorrow, not to mention earnings, and also what the news is saying about Tesla, as we have some new developments on the share price. But before I break the devil's information, before I get into any more details about Tesla, SPY, and all these different tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. The offer ends very soon tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, looking at the market right now, Tesla's looking quite bullish. We saw this thing drop all the way down into the 138 area just about a week ago, and now we're continuing to see buyers stepping in. On top of that, Tesla also gapped up, and we saw another big rally after we had some very, very bullish announcements, come out for Tesla. So that's very, very bullish, very, very awesome, and the share price is continuing to hold up very well. So we have this very, very nice chop zone, which goes all the way up to about this 205 area, and as low as about 198, which I think Tesla has potential to enter. So I do see more upside potential in this, as we got a very, very bullish break. We also broke this resistance, and we're seeing good volume coming in. So there's definitely more potential for this to go higher. But I first want to talk about some factors that could affect Tesla and the market before I break down why Tesla ran the way it did today. So when it comes to Tesla, I'm going to first talk about this. The reason why Tesla was up 15% today is because we have some very, very bullish news. In case you guys missed my earlier video, Elon Musk ended up going to China, and this was unexpected. And on his trip to China, we had some big announcements that ended up coming out. Tesla has passed some key hurdles by rolling out FSD in China. So there's a lot of regulations against that, which have been lifted for Tesla, and that's very, very great news. On top of this, thanks to another partnership with Baidu, that's another company in China, of course. Tesla's also going to have access to the maps over there, their overall navigation features and such. This allows them to take all this data, put it together, use it, and then kind of extrapolate it using their AI. And then in doing so, they're able to just incorporate FSD technology. They're able to, tap into the Chinese market to do it, and then continue to grow things to that. So that's some very, very big news, at least for them. They've managed to overcome a lot of data security concerns which came out, and they, with this deal with Baidu that's come out, that's allowed them to gain the internet mapping and navigation technology. So that's a very, very awesome news for Tesla. Tesla's going to be able to tap into a multi-trillion-dollar market expanded into a country like China, which is the biggest EV market in the world, and it's going to continue to bring in revenue, growth, and development for AI. For that, that's great news for Tesla. It's going to cause more growth moving forward, and it's getting Tesla closer to new milestones, which are going to be very bullish for the long term. So that's why Tesla's up pretty big. FSD going to China is going to be huge news. And with them getting past lots of these hurdles, that's just amazing, amazing stuff. Now, on top of this, there is lots of headlines coming out saying that Tesla's going to be investing, over $10 billion into AI. Elon Musk did talk about that. There's been a lot of talk about how Tesla has gained roughly $82 billion on the 15% stock surge just in their market cap alone, which is great, at least for them for the time being. And simultaneously, there's been a lot of very positive news. But I find this very interesting how, like, the sentiment of Tesla shifted so abruptly in a very short period of time after one earnings, and all this news is becoming more positive. Tesla was selling off. People were talking about Tesla's going to 100 a share. Tesla's dead for, and just within a week, it went from the 130s up to the 190s, which is pretty insane and has more upside potential moving forward. It's just absolutely incredible how the market works, how sentiment really affects the way these stocks move. Not to mention the big players out there, which are just continuing to buy up these stocks. There's also news coming out about how Tesla short sellers lost over $5.5 billion, which is pretty massive. And despite that, we're starting to see the squeeze continue for the stock. So now I just want to talk about the overall market. We have a lot of news coming out before I start talking about the charts. So when it comes to the market, I just want to say that tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. Okay, that's going to be very important because we have some data coming out. An hour before the market opens, we have some minor data involving employment costs. Once again, very minor. And then 15 minutes after the market opens tomorrow at 9:45 a.m., we have the Chicago PMI report. So look for some volatility at that time. And then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Dallas Fed Services Index and Dallas Fed Services Revenue. So look for volatility at those times. The volatility an hour before market open is going to be very minor since the data is not that significant. But I would say 15 minutes after market open and 1 hour after market open at 10:30 a.m. is when you should be looking for volatility, because that's when we have some more significant data. And then on top of all of this, for Wednesday, just as a reminder, it's going to be May 1st. We have the JOLTS job openings, not to mention the interest rate hike decisions coming out, and then Jerome Powell's speech. So that's going to be very, very important for Wednesday. So we'll see what this causes. Make sure you guys are ready for that. I want to give you guys a heads up. But for now, just look at the data and the times I called out: 9:45 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look for some volatility at those times during market open tomorrow, and we'll see how things go. On top of all of this, I just wanted to call out that Paramount's just announced their earnings. And then for tomorrow, we have PayPal, McDonald's, and Coca-Cola in the morning. And then for after close, we have Amazon, AMD, and Supermicro also announcing their earnings. Don't forget that for Thursday, we have Apple announcing its earnings. That's going to be very important. But for now, we're just going to focus on these. Moving forward, when it comes to Paramount, their CEO, Bob Bakish, is going to be stepping down and he's going to be replaced by three executives. That's very important. He's been in the company for almost a decade. He's been a CEO for almost a decade, and he's done a lot of great things for them, helping them grow and become what they are today. But with that being said, the company has to continue forward, and this is what is going on. So for their earnings in particular, for the first quarter, they ended up beating on earnings, but they missed on revenue. EPS was about 62 cents a share. That is once again above estimates. However, their overall revenue was at about 7.69 billion. That is a little bit below what the estimates were. So unfortunately, that's not great news for them, but revenue is still up about 6% compared to previously. On top of all of this, I just want to call out that with the growth that's coming, they added about 3.7 million subscribers, which is not bad, bringing the total to 71 million. And overall, I would say decent earnings for them. But with the CEO stepping down, that's big news. So it is what it is. Moving forward for the overall market, there's news right over here about how the fear and greed index is now getting very close to neutral as we're seeing some buyers defending. So if we could try to hold the levels we're at, things could shift a bit in the markets, at least temporarily. Market momentum is currently at greed. It's kind of shifting a little bit. And on top of this, we also have the put and call option positioning becoming neutral. This is because before, we had a lot of people buying puts and we didn't have too many call buyers. And now it's starting to shift as we're seeing calls being bought, puts being closed, and these institutions hedging more and more. And that's why the market's still getting driven up, at least to some extent. The VIX has lost the 15 level. It's actually below the 50 daily moving average. The reason why that's significant is because with the VIX being down there, there's still some weakness being perpetuated right now. So with the VIX dipping a little bit, this is actually opening doors for it to fill its gap below, which could lead to potentially even more, upside, at least temporarily, before we see another uh, reversal. So we'll be watching that very, very carefully just to see how things go, and we'll be very open-minded nonetheless. On top of all of this, I just wanted to mention that for more data, we have this headline right over here about how this whole Baidu deal has been very, very huge for Tesla, and we're starting to see more and more talk about this. So I'm very, very excited about all of this. That helped Tesla just really rally very, very nicely. There's been a lot of talk about the Chinese EV market becoming a lot more competitive because more Chinese companies are committed to essentially competing and making their EVs more affordable. So that's going to be big for Tesla, and we'll see if that leads to any shifts. But that's something I just wanted to note. For more news about Tesla, let's just go over this. We're seeing lots of improvements. Deutsche Bank gave Tesla a hold rating, and RBC Capital said Tesla will likely outperform the market. Not bad whatsoever. On top of all of this, I just want to call out that the price price ratio is continuing to climb. As we're approaching this higher level, we're starting to see Tesla gaining some strength, which is not bad whatsoever. On top of that, I just wanted to say when it comes to relative to the S&P 500, Tesla is starting to outperform it, at least temporarily. It's improving a bit. And that's some good news, at least for us moving forward. And then when it comes to seasonality, Tuesdays have a tendency of being green about 52% of the time. We tend to see more volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. So during the first 30 minutes to 1 hour, Tesla tends to be very volatile. And also during 1 p.m. So look for volatility at those times. Tesla tends to be more volatile historically. So watch and see what happens. April tends to be a good month for Tesla. And this has been a good month, not bad whatsoever. So we'll see how things go. And then with that being, with that being said, let's just talk about one more thing before I start talking about the charts. So for Tesla, we're going to be looking at their overall volume. I think this needs to get fixed. Sorry about that, guys. We're going to be looking at Tesla's volume real quick. Volume was very, very high the last time I checked it. Not bad whatsoever, 243 million, well above the 100 million average. So lots of buyers stepped in, and we started to see a lot of FOMO with buying as well. The volume has gone up, which is why the short volume has also increased. We saw a short volume making up about 63% of its volume as you saw a lot of shorts stepping in. But I'd be very careful when it comes to shorting Tesla because this thing still has a lot of potential, at least nonetheless. So anyways, without further ado, I want to talk more about what's happening to Tesla and the markets. So as you guys know, Tesla's continuing to push very, very nicely, and we're approaching this imbalance fill. We've come very, very far, and I see a lot more potential in this stock because we're not done just yet. I think Tesla could push a little bit more from here, and there's definitely potential for it. So I want to break down more details about this. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, we're going to be talking about some key levels. If Tesla were to reject, hypothetically, you want to be looking at this support right here at this 190 area. If we were to lose that, I could be looking for a move all the way down towards this 20 EMA, which is currently at 186. And if we were to break out, look at 195 as resistance, breaking this would take us up towards 200 again. And above that, we could go up to about 204. So, in my personal opinion, I think that Tesla's bullish. I think this thing is trying to uptrend. I think that this thing could actually try to go higher. It might just chop for a little bit, then try to push higher towards 200 one more time. And we'll see if it breaks out or not from there. But I do see potential in this nonetheless. Part of why I say that is because of the overall trend, and also because of the fact that we've been gaining a lot more support. When we go to the daily time frame, you guys can see we're still showing a lot of strength as buyers are defending. And I think that with a big day like this with good volume, we're going to likely get good volume tomorrow, and we could try to get back to the top of this wick. So look for a little dip tomorrow, then a bounce is the most likely possibility. We'll see what the news causes, but just know that Tesla has a bit more potential, in my personal opinion. On top of that, when it comes to SPY is on the daily chart, kind of showing some life. I just want to mention that I'm going to actually pull up give me 1 second, guys, the hourly time frame. So SPY is trying to push up. I do see a bit more potential in this. We're forming a bullish wedge-like structure. We managed to close very close to 510, but we haven't been able to break it just yet. So we'll have to wait and see. If we lose 509, look for a dip down to 507.5. And then 506, if we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 503. If we start breaking and holding with 510, we could easily go up to 512. And if that breaks, the 512s break, look for 515. In my personal opinion, I'd say that SPY looks a bit more bullish and there's more potential for this to go higher if we could hold above 510. So watch for that for tomorrow. And I think there's a very good chance it might actually go up to about 512. So I could see that tomorrow, but then I'd be very careful after that. So watch your levels just to be safe and just note there is upside potential on the charts, and we'll be very patient nonetheless. With the QQQ, if we break past 433, we could be pushing for 435. And if that breaks, 437 is coming. If we end up losing support at 432, look for 430 as your next support. Losing that could tip us all the way down towards 428. The chart is currently forming a bullish wedge and has more upside potential, so I do favor some more upside. But just to be safe, we'll wait and see if that ends up being the case. For a few more, we also have Nvda. Nvidia is showing some strength because when you zoom out and we actually pull up our bigger time frames, you guys can see that the chart on Nvidia is bullish. We have a very, very nice looking structure right here. And I think that this may become a lot more symmetrical. So this could be forming kind of like an inverse head and shoulders, could dip a little bit before it tries to continue higher. And May is supposed to be a good month according to analysts for Nvidia. So there's a very good chance it could actually push higher. I'd say could retest this support right here. Let me show you the support before we try to bounce. So make sure you watch this very carefully. If we look at basically the 877 area, I think we could be retesting our 20 EMA at 872, and then we could bounce and start pushing up towards the resistance, which is going to be much closer towards 885. And if that breaks, I think we're going to be going up to 900. I think that Nvidia may dip a bit, then start bouncing, and I think that 900 is a strong possibility. So that's what I'm seeing so far on the chart. For Apple, in my opinion, is also looking a bit more bullish. We're actually trying to continue to push. If we break past 174, we could go higher. And if we lose 172.9, we could dip a little bit. In my personal opinion, I'd say that the structure of this chart is looking a bit more bullish because it's forming a very, very nice cup-like structure. I do believe it might dip a little bit, though. It could actually dip down to the 172s and then try to bounce after that, and then start pushing up higher towards the 176 area. So look for a little dip before it tries to bounce, but the overall structure is still bullish on Apple, of course. So watch for that as we approach earnings. So that is it for the main five I typically talk about. Now let's just focus on a few more stocks. I'll try to be more brief with this part. So when it comes to the overall market, we're still showing some life, at least across the indices and such. For other tickers, we're going to start off with Palantir. Palantir definitely has more potential to push. I do see some more life on the 4 hour. I think that this could retest 22.8 and start pushing up higher towards 23.25. If we end up losing the 22.5 supports, I could be looking for a dip down to 22 flats, but I favor it's going to dip a bit, then bounce and start pushing for 23 plus. I favor a bit more upside as a strong possibility. For Supermicro, I think that this is also looking bullish like Nvidia, and we have this imbalance to fill at 930. We might be pushing towards 900, so look for a little bounce, and I do see some more upside potential. For Rivian, we have more upside potential as well because of this imbalance over here. So I think that 9.5 is likely coming. We could retest 9.25 then bounce and look for 9.5 as a strong possibility. For SoFi, we got a big rejection. That's after earnings came out. Going to be looking to see where it base is at. It loves to base at 7, but we could be retesting 6.8. So one of those levels should be tested, but then I do expect a bounce after that. Still kind of weak, so we'll see if we end up getting that bounce. So just be a little bit patient with it. Let me double check this. The IW and Russell 2000 looks bullish to me, forming a cup and handle. I think it's going to be trying to push to about 200 to 202. So it might retest, in my personal opinion, 190, the 198.5 area, then bounce and push up to 200 plus. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. For AMD, in my personal opinion, also has potential. I think that it's going to try to fill this imbalance towards 163.5. So watch and see if you hold 160. If it holds that, look for 163.5. If we reject, look for 158, but I favor 163.5 as a strong possibility. For ARM, I think that this might be testing our 50 EMA, which happens to be at about 106. So I'll have to see if that ends up being the case, but I do favor a little bit more upside on the charts. I think that it might be pushed for 103.5. If we lose 101, we're going to be dipping, but I favor at least 103.5 to break, then eventually hit 106. So watch for that very carefully. 106. For Coinbase, if we were to lose, okay, 215, we have a gap to fill all the way down to 210. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it basically hold above where we currently are, 222. If it holds that, I'll be looking for about 226. I think what's going to happen is it's going to try to bounce and hit 226 before we try to reverse. So look for a push for 226 before anything, and I'm going to be watching to see what happens after that. For Amazon, we're actually looking a bit more bullish on Amazon. I think this could push a little bit higher towards 183.5. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. And I think that there is definitely potential in this. If we lose 179.7, we could be dipping, but I favor a bit of a push towards 179. So watch for that. Uh, I think that that could push higher. For Meta, I think that this is going to be testing support at 430. If we dip a bit more, the 0.386 retracement happens to be around. I'm sorry, the 0.382 retracement happens to be around 424 for the charts. So what that means is either at 430 it's going to bounce, or it could go a little lower to 424 and then bounce. But I do expect this to bounce very soon. I think it's been dipping too hard, and earnings weren't even that bad. It had really good earnings, just their guidance wasn't the best. So I do expect to bounce soon. Watch either 430 or 424 for the bounce, and we'll see how things go. Microsoft is trading sideways. Watch 400 as support. If that fails us, we're going to be dipping all the way down to about 392. For resistance, watch 405. If we break that, we're going to be pushing towards 409. I'm going to be watching this very carefully. We're kind of stuck in the middle, so give it some time. For Google, we're dipping a bit. I think we're going to likely test 165. If we lose 165, we're going to be dipping towards 161. So look for 165.8 to be tested at our 20 EMA, then a bounce. But I do favor a little bit more downside on Google before we end up getting that move. For the VIX, what I found very interesting is the VIX is losing support at that 15 area. So that's very important because support is starting to break right here. There's a risk it's going to come down to fill this gap at 12.99. If that's the case, we could fill the gap, and filling the gap would suggest that this could be because of the market pushing more. So I'll be watching that very carefully. For the 10-year treasury yield, I just wanted to call out that this is looking in the middle. It's kind of range bound. It's going to likely make a big move depending on what Jerome Powell says on Wednesday when we have the FOMC meeting. So we'll see what that causes. If he's more dovish, this is going to come down to fill this gap here, and that could cause the market to bounce. If he's hawkish, this is going to go higher, and that's going to be bearish for the market. So just wait and see. And the dollar got a little rejection off the 106 area. It's looking a bit more bearish, but I think FOMC and such would cause a bigger move. So we will see if this imbalance fills and the dollar comes down to 105.25, which could contribute to more upside in the markets temporarily. I think that this does favor SPY kind of pushing a bit, so we'll have to wait and see. With that being said, that is it for my analysis. The market is still looking bullish overall, a little bit more bullish, but we have to watch to see if some key resistance levels break or not. Tesla looks like it could push higher. We're entering a key resistance at 200. Might dip a bit first and then try to bounce, so watch for that. And then we'll see how things go. With that being said, thank you for listening, guys. Get ready for some volatility tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, then at 10:30 a.m., and then we'll see how things go from there. Get ready for some big earnings coming out starting tomorrow after the market closes, and get ready for what's about to come. So thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow in the next one before the market opens. I just want the best for everyone. So take care, do what you have to do, and peace out.